So did you always have a knack for that kind of thing, or is that something you grew into?
Like, I'm blocking for Marshawn Lynch.
Well,
I wouldn't say a knack, but I did. Like, I kind of caught interest in it when I was at Bake Home.
WNBA draft night, was it crazy?
It was definitely crazy.
Okay, so you gotta take me from the beginning, my brother. Me and you, we've known each other for a few years now, but I've never really just got to dive deep into the background of Matt Watson. So where you from? What was the beginning?
North Tulsa, born and raised.
Yeah, man.
Got a Booker T. Washington family. I did not meet the mark on that one. But I grew up in North Tulsa.
Yeah.
Went to William Penn, and I went to Hawthorne, and I went to Carver Middle School.
Yeah.
And
Wildcats,
then
baby.
Yeah, that's right, Wildcats. And then I went on to I went to high school. I went to East Central for a couple of years, and then classroom size got big. I started struggling. My mama pulled me out. She said, "We're gonna put you in the smallest school possible." So she sent me to Webster. And
So did you do 2 and 2?
2 and 2, 2 and 2, 2 and 2.
Man, so it sounds like it was an executive decision made by her. Did you have any say-so in the matter?
Absolutely not. Not a single little bit. And it turned out to be one of the biggest blessings in my life. And,
Yeah.
that's what mothers are for.
Them suckers just be knowing, man.
Yeah,
They be
every
knowing.
time.
Okay, so we're sort of from a different era where you just sort of did as you were told. Like, not a whole lot of talking back. So what I'm gearing up to ask you is, since you're saying that wasn't a move you wanted to make, leaving EC to go to Webster, did she know that you wasn't feeling that move?
It wasn't necessarily that I didn't want to go to Webster. I wanted to go to Booker T.
Okay.
That's where all my childhood friends was.
Yeah.
But my mother, knowing me, knowing how I learned, she knew I was going to get ate up over there in the classroom. She knew there was no way I was going to survive. But, of course, she didn't want to tell me that. But she just said, hey, we think, she sold me on the digital media magnet and everything that was over there, which lined up with some stuff I wanted to do in my career. So,
Went and made the most of it.
yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So speaking of home life, you mentioned your mom. Was it just the two of y'all coming up?
No, absolutely not. I have my dad involved. I have a little brother.
Yeah.
And then I got an older sister who, again, like I said earlier, Booker T graduate. And then we actually lived right next door to my grandparents as well, right over by Monroe. We lived right next door to my grandparents. And so really, to be honest with you, during the week, I stayed the night at mom's house, mom and dad's house. I stayed at home. Friday night, Saturday night, though, I'm at grandparents kicking it. I had my own space over there. I didn't have my own room at home. Me and my little brother had to share. So
Right.
when I got to go over there and kick it, me and my grandpa was tight. So
Super tight.
We kicked it. We watched games. I mean, if it was sports, we was watching it.
Yeah.
And that's how I spend my weekends.
Hey man, that's dope. Having that village right there. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But before we even jump to you and grandparents' relationship, you being the middle child, right? Mm-hmm. Second out of 3. Man, is it true what they say? Is it tough on y'all?
1,000,000%.
Why is that true, man?
So I'm just going to speak to you on my experience. My sister was the first to do everything.
Right.
So the newness of going to college or going to high school or whatever it may be, she already did it. And then when little bro was coming up, well, he's the baby. This is the last time that we're going to get to do this. This is the last of this. Me is like, yeah, he doing it, and it don't mean my parents love me any less, but I say all the time, man, y'all, that middle child, he just don't feel the love, dude. Every time I see those memes, I send them to somebody in my family.
Just letting it be known.
It's absolutely true. Now, of course, everybody else would say, not so much, but I'm here to set the record straight. It's true.
It's true. Set the record straight. But see, I've heard 2 things as it relates to that, though. I've heard some people say, the one thing that probably resonates with me the most is nobody. I think I saw a meme one time. Some parents said, no kid tests your gangster like the second one. You know what I mean? So I guess, were you hard to deal with? And to back that up, maybe on the bright side of being the second one, if they didn't get it right on the first kid, maybe they knew a little bit more about what they were doing on the second go round.
I'm stubborn. I always been stubborn.
Uh-huh.
I have always thought I knew what was best.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I was absolutely hard to deal with. It was some things my mama wanted to tell me, and I just wouldn't hear it. My mom and my daddy, and I just wouldn't hear it. Of course, you get older, and you're like, well, they was really spitting.
Yeah, that's
but,
right. Hindsight.
Hey, but at the time, you're like, oh, hey, no, I got it. Let me do my thing.
I feel that. Okay, so I'm not going to ask you to choose between parents, but which parent would you say you were tightest with when you were younger? Mom or dad?
Definitely mom.
Okay.
Definitely mom. Definitely mom, because we were closer with her parents living right next door. We was more integrated into that family and that process of things. And then dad worked a lot.
Yeah.
And because dad worked so much, it just, we was home with mom a lot. We went to go do more activities and stuff with mom because dad was funding it.
Yes, right. That's right. So you might catch each other, might not.
Exactly.
I feel that. Would you say your personality more resembles mom's or dad's?
It's my dad.
Okay.
My personality, it resembles my dad. Those lessons that he would teach me, those are the things I take kind of into the workplace now. And, just kind of the rite of passage, being a man, things like that. So definitely my day-to-day persona definitely more resembles my dad now, but it used to probably resemble my mom in some of my earlier years.
So it was a little bit of a shift somewhere in there.
Yes. So now I like to think I'm somewhere in the middle.
I feel that, man. And somebody said it more brilliantly than that. They were like, every kid is a hybrid of their parents.
Yes.
You're going to get half your mom's stuff, half your dad's stuff. The trick is, you don't know if it's going to be the good shit or the bullshit from whichever side. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Okay, so talking about the grandparents, I think that anybody that was alive at the same time as their grandparents and you got to meet them and got to know them, that's a super gem, man. And from my experiences, I got to know both sets of grandparents, and they didn't discipline me like that. You know what I mean? And then my parents would be looking at their own parents like, yo, what happened to you? Because I used to get the business for the stuff that this little dude is doing nowadays. So was it like that with your grandparents?
Yes, but it was in a different way.
Okay.
It was in a different way. My grandfather, he just had a way. He's just very calm. He was just very poised. And he just had a way of letting you know that he ain't like what you was doing without having to raise it. He never had to raise his voice. Never had to put his hands on you. My grandmother was the same way. You get in trouble at school, of course they know. And, your parents, they give you the more escalated because they more directly upset. Your parents, your grandparents, they've seen it all. They've seen it all. So, you come in there, you done got in trouble, cussing at school, doing whatever it may be, not doing your work. They've seen that movie before.
Yeah.
So they giving you a more seasoned perspective, but still getting the same message across.
Right.
And my grandpa, he could just, he'll let you, like I said, if he ain't like what he was doing, you would know, but he wasn't being over the top about it.
And it resonated though, huh?
Every time.
That gives me hope because, we both in the kid business now, but a lot of times, in a lot of instances, maybe I'm projecting my own experiences, but in a lot of cases, some of these youngsters, man, the only time they really get it is if you turn up the volume and change the language up. And I'm like, man, I don't want to have to go there with you all the time to get you to get it.
It's what I say to kids is, don't make me be somebody I don't like. Don't make me be a person I don't like to be. And like you said, we don't want to have to go there. We don't, as you get older, you go there a lot less. You start off, you're so fiery, and every situation, you got to go get the fire extinguisher off the wall. But as you get older, you know how it is. As you get older, you start to figure out ways to almost kind of pre-handle those situations. You build that relationship up, and then when it escalates, first of all, you learn, okay, that's not worth picking a battle. Maybe we can address that tomorrow. Or then sometime, hey, we've talked about that, and then, hey, you can squeeze that hand, you can squeeze that shoulder. Hey, we talked about that, remember? And then that's right, Coach, we did talk about that.
Oh, yeah. When they trust you, man, they'll take that from you.
Yep.
Okay, so staying in your formative years. So once you graduate high school, what year was that, by the way?
2011.
2011. Okay, you graduate high school in 2011. What's the next chapter look like for you?
I went to Rogers State in Claremore.
Yeah.
And I went there for about a year and a half. And I just really, I thought I was going to get my broadcast journalism degree. I thought I was going to be sitting in that seat.
Yeah.
That's the seat I thought I was going to be sitting in. And
you still can.
And after a while, I just realized, like, man, like I just miss basketball. I miss being in the locker room, And so I went to Rogers State, and then I had a health issue. I had a staph infection in my lip. My lip was about as big as that bucket hat you got on your head right now. Yep.
The top lip or the bottom lip?
Huh? Bottom lip.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, yeah, it was massive. I had to go. I was hospitalized for 3 days. It's the only health incident I've ever had in my life. It was terrible. And so I dropped out of school to try to work and try to pay off some of those medical bills. And then once I got back into the coaching world, that's when I, said, okay, we got to go get this degree. We got to go finish this up.
Okay, so are you finished already?
Student teaching this fall.
Oh,
I'll be finished in November.
Come on, man. Early congrats.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
And I've heard, I haven't had to walk this path, but I've been told by people who have that once you start off going to school, and by school I mean college, and then you take that time off for whatever reason, because life be happening, and then you start working and you get a taste of that steady income, it's hard to give that up to go back. Did you run into that at all, or you stayed focused the whole way?
It's not necessarily I stayed focused the whole way. It's that I knew I wanted to be a head basketball coach. I knew that's what I wanted to do, and I knew that degree was something I wasn't going to be able to do it without. Both of the jobs I've been able to get so far, I've only been able to get them because I was making so much progress towards it at that time. Had I just sat on my hands, it's been like, well, so those Sunday nights when you're up doing homework and it's like, man, I'm ready to give up on this.
Yeah.
You know, just took 3 fat L's in a tournament, and then you go home, and that weekend, you ain't going home just to watch film. You going home to do that homework too. And like I said, it can turn into a burden, but I've always had kind of my goal in sight and wanting to kind of, you know, the whole package, being a teacher, being an educator, want to fatten them pockets a little bit. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that kind of kept me focused, but I don't want to act like I'm just, you know, so motivated that, oh man, no, I just stayed so focused on my school. No, I had some motivators.
Yeah, man, and that's part of the reason why I like having these types of conversations, because the finished product, even though you got more growth to do, as we all do, but the finished product as you look now, it wasn't always peaches and herb, and so people need to know that, man.
Yep, absolutely.
You talked about your love for the game of ball. When did that start? Was it when you were a kid playing, or did you always know, I want to coach one of these days? Give me the whole run as far as Matt and athletics is concerned.
So when I was a baby, I didn't really like sports. I wasn't really into sports.
Okay.
My younger years, I was a nerd. I wanted to play Game Boy. I wanted to do stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that's all I wanted to do. And then I say probably about 5th grade, I really took to the NFL. And I took to my Philadelphia Eagles, who, if you know me now, you know that's who I'm rocking with. So I just, I really took a liking to sports. That was the last Shaq Kobe year with the Lakers. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to play football. Football was my deal. And, I'd go tell my grandpa, yeah, man, I'm going to play football. I'm going to Carver. I'm going to go play football. And he'd just shake his head and walk off. You need to play basketball. And you need to play basketball. And so that year for Christmas, they actually got me a basketball goal. My grandparents did. And so I started playing, just in the backyard and tried football. Wasn't really for me.
No, I feel it.
It wasn't really for me. I don't want to get hit all the time.
Yeah, man.
It wasn't really for me. But I was finally able to get on the court once I got into high school. And I just, I really took a love to it once I started learning shell defense and, learning to finish with my weak hand and stuff. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this. I really like this. And then it's just never really stopped.
Right.
From once, you know how it is, once the wheel gets turning, it doesn't really stop.
Yeah. Now, see, myself personally, I jumped off the porch kind of late when it comes to basketball, meaning that I wasn't good right away. I had a couple of things that God blessed me with. I was tall, and I could catch and shoot. Literally everything else had to be developed.
Yeah.
Confidence included. You know what I mean? So what was your journey like becoming a decent player? Was it quick, or did it take a minute?
Oh, it took a long time. So I went to East Central my freshman year.
Yeah.
And East Central was loaded. Yeah. It was just, there was no way I wasn't getting in over there. I wasn't, there was not going to be any spot in the fold to get into. But going into my junior year, over there towards the end of my sophomore year, Coach Wallace was the coach, Coach Bo Wallace, who's at BA now. And I had missed the tryout because I was in the choir, had to get them grades first. And, he respected that, admired that. He said, why don't you come to Summer League? Why don't you come to Summer League? We're going to make it work. So I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to get it in over here. And my mom said, I ain't taking you to no Summer League. I done told you ain't going back to East Central. You're going to Webster. You're not going to East Central.
So she had planted that seed beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
And you just like, nah.
No. I was thinking, you know how it is, out of sight, out of mind.
That's right.
So I was thinking, hey, I'm going to play at East Central. Hey, we're going to be pretty good, too. Like, right. I'm thinking, hey, I might get a ring. I don't.
Trying to sell it.
And, of course, me, I'm thinking, he done finally gave me my chance. I'm about to be in Coach Wallace starting 5. He don't even know it, And, but actually getting over there to Webster, playing for Coach U, our program was at a spot where there was a lot of development going on.
Yeah.
There was a lot of development, so it was a perfect program for me at the time. I was able to develop a game, develop an understanding of the game, and practices were a lot slower paced, which kind of played into me. Mm-hmm. And so then going into my senior year, that's when I really kind of went all hands on deck. I played AAU. I was in the gym constantly working out. I'm kind of like you. I was tall, and then I could shoot it.
There you go, man.
So those was the things that, my senior year that I was able to kind of lean on. But we lost some players going into senior year, which shifted me down. So I was 6'1", 6'2", playing the 5.
There you go, buddy. You got to.
Exactly.
I got you, man. I love those types of stories. Started off slow. Well, not even slow. Let's say bumpy. Mm-hmm. And you had ample opportunity, I'm sure, to just sort of get off of that path. Yeah. But you hung in there, man. And that seems to be like a lost approach when it comes to a lot of our young people these days. So I'm glad to hear that. Hey, man, if you hang in there, it's gonna hurt right now, but it'll pay off in the end.
It's something for you. You don't know what the gift or what the reward is, but it's something for you if you keep going. For me, I thought I was gonna be a starter and win a state championship as a player. I thought that was gonna be my thing, and
who don't want to do that too?
That didn't turn out to be my path, to be the great player, the college player, and all those things I wanted to be. But the basketball path took me somewhere else that was positive.
Mm-hmm. And so, were y'all 4A during that time too?
Yes. Yes.
Webster been hanging around that 4A for about as long as I can remember.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now we can circle back. Now that we've established credibility, let's talk about the coaching game, man. Because I started knowing that I wanted to coach my first year out of high school when I was a freshman in college. I came back home for the holidays, and Coach Scott, my mentor, he let me be a part of the staff just for the time I was home for the break. And they had a tournament and a bunch of practices, and I'm like, yeah, this is it right here.
Yeah.
So who gave you your first break into coaching? Your first job as an assistant?
Scotty Bowman. Scotty Bowman.
Okay.
Scotty, I say this. It's a combination.
Okay.
Scotty Bowman, who we all know is the Sky took now.
That's right.
And then one of my guys, Chase Eastman, who was Scotty's middle school coach at the time. He allowed me to tag along and be his assistant at the middle school. Chase is now at Glenpool. I think he's an assistant at Glenpool now. And so they kind of, together. I was a young guy, didn't have my degree, didn't have nearly enough hours. Scotty really wanted me to go back and get that degree so we could do the things we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
That was something he really wanted for me. And
did you fight him on it?
I didn't necessarily say I fought it, but I was not financially in a position when he was telling me to go back to school. I didn't have the infrastructure. I wasn't ready yet.
I got you.
I wasn't ready yet, and had I gone back then, I'd have flunked out.
I feel it.
I'd have flunked out. So
That's you knowing you, though.
100%. 100. I knew me, and so he gave me a start with the middle school team. I was the assistant 8th grade coach, and I'd just be kind of up under him all the time, coach, Could I come sit on the bench with the high school team, coach? And it finally got to, coach, I keep stats on the bench.
Yeah.
Whatever you want, whatever you want me to do, man. I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be in it. And so he said, okay, come on. And you can keep stats. And I tell you, them the best stats I ever took in my life.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't miss a rebound. I didn't miss a deflection. I didn't miss nothing.
Man.
Oh.
And this is at Webster, right?
Yes, correct.
And now, you ain't that old, but it sounds like this was pre-iPad, too? So you pen and pad?
Oh, I was live. I was keeping stats live on
Couldn't
the
miss
bench.
nothing.
I had my clipboard. I walked out with a clipboard in hand, and I kept the stats live on the bench. And one of your better players, you go tell him, you say, "Hey, man, you only got 2 rebounds at halftime. We need some more out of you." You
got to prod him a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was there. And after that first year, I think Coach Bowen, I think he saw some potential in me, in the business, and he kind of implored me to step out and go do something different that wasn't just under that same Webster umbrella.
That's looking out for real.
It really was, and I wanted to be there because I knew the kids, I knew everything, but I think he knew better in that sense because he was like, why don't you go find something different? And he would put in a reference if I had asked him to put in a reference, but I went on and I did assistant girls at NOAA, and that was a year that I really learned a lot because we weren't very good. But of course, I'm 20, 21 years old.
Yeah.
I'm worried about basketball.
That's it.
Well,
young, vibrant.
I'm trying to win. Like we're trying to win, and the maturity in me was not at that point yet to understand your calling is to do more than try to win these games. And you're trying to develop players, you're trying to develop young women. And so I went and did that, and then I ended up circling back around a couple years ago, and Scotty brought me back onto the staff.
Okay, so those are just years 1 and 2, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So you did one under Bowman and assist,
yes,
and then you did one at NOAA. Who were you working under?
Guy's name was Nick Ruffin, and then also Chris Wallace. Coach Wallace's brother.
Yeah,
he was the head boys coach, and so I was kind of zigzagging, ping-ponging between the two. Again, just being a sponge, being who I am, taking in as much as I can take in.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and that was just a year. That was just a year. And then the following season, Coach approached me and said, "Man, are you taking some college classes yet?" This is Coach Bowman. Take some college classes yet? I said, "Man, I'm really trying to. I'm trying to get to it." And he said, "Man, I want you to come help. I want you to come help." And he named me as freshman coach then, and then I think that started a 4-year run where I was his assistant. That was one of the best stretches in school history. We made a state semifinal there, a couple state tournaments, and we really had some success. And so for me, at my alma mater, being able to be a part of, I think it was the first time we had won a state tournament game since 1968. That was fun. That to realize that a school that you love, a place you love, a community you love, you got to help bring the success back, so to speak.
Man, and you sort of got promoted at the same time.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You're getting more and more experience. They give you an opportunity, and I bet you developing some really good relationships with the young people along the way.
Absolutely.
So if I'm wrong, correct me. But based on everything you just broke down to me, this is your previous stint as head coach at Webster, head boys coach at Webster. That would have been stint number 3 at Webster. Because you were
Correct.
there and you were gone. And
You are
were back.
correct. You are correct.
That's wild, brother. But that's home, though.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
home.
That's kind of how home is. You know, a kid moves out, goes to college, gets a job. Sometimes you always got to come back home.
Right.
Sometimes you always got to come back home.
After that 4-year stint as the freshman coach working under Coach Bowman, what happens then? Is that when you and Coach Brown end up hooking up?
Me and Coach Brown, so we had developed a relationship just through different gyms, through
Right.
different this, that.
That's
and the
Eli
other.
Brown for those
yeah,
listening and
yeah,
watching.
Coach Brown, who's at Booker T now, and he had been asking me for a couple of years, man, like, I'd love to get you over here. You know, if it ever worked out, I'd love to get you over here. And him and Coach Bowman had a really good relationship too.
Yeah.
And
by here you mean at Central? He was
at
there
Central,
the time.
he was at Central. He's
Gotcha.
like, hey man, why don't you come on over to Central? And you know, I'd love to have you. And so I went on and I did that. And I went and I told Coach Bowman, you know, that nothing personal at all. That I just wanted to expand. I always wanted to know what it looked like in different gyms.
Yeah.
I could have ran a Coach Bowman practice, you know, after 5 years of being under somebody.
yeah.
You can run one of his practices, you know,
Which I
in your
know.
sleep. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I knew every drill he had. I knew, you know, which is a positive thing because he was consistent.
Yeah.
But so I went over there with Coach Brown. That lasted a year. He got promoted to Booker T. And then I went on with him there. And then that would have been the last year of my journey as an assistant coach to this point.
Wowzers. So if you could compare the experiences, not necessarily the two guys, but the 3 or 4 bosses that you've had, what are the differences in each of them, and what are some of the similarities that they all had?
I say the similarities. I'll stick with Coach Brown and Coach Bowman for now.
Okay, Brown
I'll
and
stick with
Bowman.
those two for now.
Yeah.
With those two, what's similar is that they're both really poised. You can't rattle either one of them. I mean, you'll be in the middle, and you know how it is as a young guy. You're in the middle of a tight-knit game, and, you know, you clenching your fists over there. You're like, Coach, come on.
Everything you're saying is at this tone right here.
Yeah, Coach. And they both just like, we all right. We good. We good. I mean, there's been some moments we've been down 10 or 12, and I'm like, Coach, we got to get him out.
Yeah.
And Coach Bowman be like, Watson, he's all right. He's all right. And I'm over here mad, man. We ain't doing this, that, or the other. Now you look up and we up 15. We in the locker room, and it's like, he just knew, you know, being patient. And Coach Brown's the same way. I think, that don't make you mad? That makes me mad. Like, that just pissed me off.
I'm tight. You know?
Yeah, what? And he's like, and Coach Brown always say, man, you're going to be a head coach at some point. You got to learn what fires you want to put out and what fires you don't want to put out.
That's
And that's something that's, you know, stuck with me, you know, the last several years.
Picking those battles.
Yep, exactly. And Coach Bowman would tell me the same thing. You just got to learn when to pick your battles. You got to learn when. So they were both very poised. Coach Bowman, I would say, would be more of an offensive guy, and then Coach Brown, more of a defensive guy. And so I've been able to kind of mix those two things together, you know, to kind of create my philosophy and what I want to do. And then also, you know, putting a twist on of my own creativity as well. And
There got to be some Matt in there.
yeah, of course. And so they really were very similar while also, you know, playing two completely different styles. Now, Coach Bowman, if you watch his team play now, they pick up full court, they guarding you, they pressing you, they doing all that. But if you watch his teams back when I was there, you know, we had some size. So we kind of slowed that thing down, try to get it inside first,
Make you deal
play
with it.
inside out, not a lot of ball screens. And then defensively, okay, we're going to get back. We're going to play half-court defense, whereas with Coach Brown, he's like, no.
We getting after it.
Yes. We're gonna pick the pace of this game up, and that was something that I learned from my time with him is, you know, mixing in the press, the timing to mix in the press, and the different kind of press. I mean, sometimes we'll have 4 and 5 different presses, and I'll be like, Coach, I'm kind of confused.
Yeah.
You know, but
And a lot of times, I can tell what can be confusing of it. 3 or 4 of them, but the rotations are very similar.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Hey man, I actually like everything about what you said because I think there's some beauty in having in being flexible enough to alter your style of play depending on your personnel.
Yep.
Right. But then I also think there's something premium about having a signature, meaning like even without you sitting on the bench, I can tell by the style that your guys are playing. Oh yeah, that's a Matt Watson team right there, or that's a Brown bunch right there. You know what I mean? But so when the assistant stint was over, your last one, how did you getting to be the head boys basketball coach at Webster High School come about?
Well, I heard obviously word travels fast in this era. So, I mean, probably not even an hour or two after he resigned, the word had gotten back to me through, you know, multiple, you know, great relationships I built back at Webster. It was apparent that the job was open. So I obviously talked to Coach Brown, and
You felt ready?
I was ready. Well, here's the deal. We talked again about sometimes you fail early, but you have success later on.
Yeah.
It's probably fifth or sixth head job I'd applied for. And I didn't feel like I was really seriously considered for any of them
Right.
up until that point,
Right.
which was for the better. I wasn't ready at that time. Of course, you always feel. If you asked me when I was 21, I was ready to be a head coach.
I feel that. Yeah.
Everybody's ready to, drive their own ship. So, I was able to go through that application process, and actually in that same offseason, I interviewed for the head coaching job at East Central. That job had opened up before the Webster job opened up. And so then it became like, what do I do? And I remember, after I'd interviewed with East Central, I hadn't had my interview with Webster yet, and I remember feeling like,
If they call me
I got to take the one that's
Yeah.
right there. But, man, at the same time, this is home. And that's, when you envision yourself as a head coach, I'd always done it in the Webster gym because that was where I played. That's where a lot of those formative years were, learning and things like that. And so I had a good relationship with the administration at Webster still from my time there. And Ms. Holman, we had a really good relationship. And so I think when I came back in and interviewed her, I think I kind of impressed her with the maturity that I had gained in the time I had been gone. I think that's what made her feel like, hey, it's time to go ahead and bring them home.
We definitely gonna get into the importance of having a good administration behind you. But you mentioned a tidbit that I didn't know before now. You had been, I should have known though, you've been applying, right? Mm-hmm. You say you're fifth or sixth at bat.
Yes.
And you've been 0 for 5 or 6 at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's the application process. But were you able to get some interviews in that time too?
Yes, I had one interview before that offseason.
Before that offseason.
Now, the Webster one would have been my second one that offseason.
Right.
But I had interviewed at Hale back in I think maybe 2016, maybe. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
It was a while ago. That one's a little bit blurry to me because that was so long ago. But some of the other ones I had applied for, I did not get an interview.
Yeah. So, what was your mindset going into any interview process? Like, even when you were young and in hindsight not ready, when you were applying to these jobs, were you thinking, yeah, I might could get them, or did you have people saying, hey, just go through the process and get you some interview experience? And the reason why I asked that is because, respectfully, I'm not sure how much sense that approach makes because me, Aaron, I don't think I'm gonna apply for a job that I don't have interest in and intend to get if they put it on the table for me. You see what I'm saying?
I could not agree more.
Yeah.
When I applied at every job I applied at, I applied with the full intention of if I get this job, if I get offered this job, I plan on accepting this job. That was my personal intention.
Right.
Now, at Webster, again, the process was a little bit different there because there was familiarity. And again, I knew some people, not in terms of administrators or anything, but teachers in the school, support staff, assistant coaches that were like, yeah, I think they might be interviewing, on this day and that day. And I think they might be doing this or that. And, especially when you're going for that first job.
Yeah.
You want every little crumb you can get. I want to know how good a chance I stand. Well, who else has applied?
Yeah.
Hey, who else, man? Do I got a chance?
Yeah, you sizing up the competition.
Oh, absolutely. And hey, and then you're hearing the competition. You're like, well, you don't want to hire this guy.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Look what? No. They got to go look at his record, man. They got to go da. So yeah.
All that's real.
Yep.
Even if you don't say it, you think it.
Exactly.
You damn sure think it.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, was there one interview or was there a second one during the Webster process?
There was one interview.
Just one. Okay.
There was one interview.
When you walked out of it, did you feel like you represented well?
Well, COVID 2021.
Okay.
It was a Zoom interview.
Oh wow, oof.
So the Zoom interview process scared me because I'm like, well, what if I come home and I doze off for a couple minutes and I miss my Zoom call or something? I'm just terrified. I'm like, man, this is my opportunity. I don't want to mess it up.
Right.
I felt good. I felt really good about my interview there. Again, having already known the lay of the land, and I think at that point I had kind of already composed my idea of what I wanted my tenure as a head coach to look like in terms of what I just wanted the foundation to look like. And so I felt good about the interview process. I felt like I was, prepared. I felt, again, knowing the lay of the land, I knew certain things that were important to that particular job that maybe I wouldn't have known at another job. But when they come with this question, well, I've answered that question, 200 times in my head already because I know that that's important to having success here at this spot.
Yeah, man.
And so that's kind of the beauty of interviewing is it's a little bit different everywhere you go.
Yeah, man. So when you get that call, how does it go?
I'm going to be so honest with you.
Yeah.
I got that call from Shelly Holman, principal at Webster. I just remember she offered me the job, And I just knew when I saw that name come across caller ID.
You knew what
she ain't gonna call me and tell me I didn't get it.
Yeah.
You know, maybe an email, but nobody's gonna call me and tell me, you know, we passed. So when I saw that name, I knew. I said, "Oh man," because you know, aspiring head coach, that's the day you dream of, is getting that call saying, "Hey, we want you to be our guy."
That's right.
We think you're our guy, and it's just, you know, very impressed with the interview process. We love what you're going to bring. We think you're going to help continue a lot of the success we've had. We're just really excited to have you on board. And then, you know, and that's the part people don't think about when you think about that phone call, the school day. Okay, well, this is what this is going to look like. This is what, hey, we need to come in and we need to meet because we need to figure out what this and that is going to look like. But at that time, I was so on cloud nine. I couldn't tell you 5 words she said other than we want to go ahead and offer you the job of head boys basketball coach at Webster.
Geeked on the other side of
Oh, what? What?
Man, that's dope, brother. So, and you're right. I definitely can identify with getting that call. Just seeing the name across the screen, my heart is like, I'm like, okay, I know what time it is.
Yep.
I think. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but like you said, would they be calling me if it wasn't what I think it is?
Exactly.
Okay, so the next order of business in my mind is staffing it. You know what I mean? Who and how did you get them, you know, assembling a group that was going to work under you? But I like to say work with you because we do a lot of things.
Absolutely. It's
you know
together.
I mean? And it's like, it's hard to do it without good help. So who'd you have on your staff your first year, and was it easy going and putting everybody together?
Staffing was really difficult my first year. It was really difficult because it's like I'm going to compare it to being Oral Roberts and trying to go recruit 4 and 5 stars.
Got you.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
I don't think I had a good enough
clear
understanding of where I was and the help I was going to be able to get consistently.
Yeah.
And so I was like, big game hunting. But long story short, who ended up being on my staff that first year, a gentleman by the name of Jalen Brown. He had just graduated from East Central University in Ada. He was about to start a professional playing career, and then he popped his Achilles. And I mean, he was one day from his contract signing. And
no contract coming, but I just say that.
Yeah. And when I first met him, he was on one of those that you're on.
Yeah, man.
And just young, hungry, eager to help kids. He's running an AAU organization right now. He's really eager to help kids. His college coach reached out to me and said, "Hey, man, I got this guy. He's really looking for the next chapter of his life." And when me and him met, we really clicked, really hit it off. So he actually moved to Tulsa to take that assistant job. And then we also had Sean Arnold, who had been on the previous year's staff with Coach Bowman. And so I had those 2 guys. It was just us 2. It was really good. It was really good. It was, you know, being that first year, you're still trying to find that balance between taking advice and staying firm where you are, or staying firm where you are versus taking advice. But I thought that year's staff, you know, those 2, Coach Brown and Coach Arnold, they really hit it off. And they were, you know, Coach Arnold kind of mentored Coach Brown a little bit. So the staff was good.
That's actually a good segue to the next question, because I think, you know, in your first year as a head coach, in your first gig as a head coach, you want your imprints on every division of your program, which can make it difficult to delegate responsibilities. Did you run into that?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't delegate anything.
Straight up.
I never delegated anything.
Wowzers.
I would bring it up and be like, "Well, Coach, I was thinking about maybe having you take over this," and they'd be like, "All right." And then I go in there and I'm like, man, fuck it, I'll do it.
I got it.
I'll do it, man. You know, I'm a doer by nature, man. I want to take the initiative. I don't want to ask anybody to do anything I wouldn't do. So I'm a doer. Sometimes to my own demise. A lot of times to my own demise.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, I'm gonna be the first one in that line to raise a hand. I'll do it.
Yeah.
You know, if it comes to it.
Were you ever able to catch yourself and correct yourself, or was there a moment where maybe one of your staff members had to let you know in so many words, like, "Yo, Coach, we here for you.
Year
if you use us."
Year 2, it got a little bit easier.
Gotcha.
It got a little bit easier. You know, you've been through the fire a little bit. You start realizing, Matt, it doesn't matter that much. Like, it's all right. But, you know, you're early, you think everything has to be perfect. I want everything to be perfect. And that cost me some good help at times. That cost me, like I said, some good help, some help that would have been given to me had I asked.
Right.
And then Coach Brown that year was also coaching our middle school teams as well. And so he was up to his neck in it. He was completely and totally up to his neck in it. And for a first-year guy, I mean, when I would think first year guy, I would think about my first year. But it was different from his first year. He was transitioning from a playing career and transitioning from a lot of other things. So he's coaching 8th grade girls, 7th grade boys, 8th grade boys, and he's giving his all into that because he's the head coach of that particular team.
Right.
And then I'm like, well, I just want to let him focus on that, so I'll kind of pick up some of this slack on some of the
high
other
school
stuff.
slack.
Yep.
Man, did you ever find yourself running low on fuel personally from doing too much? And if so, were you able to know, oh dang, this is why I'm so worn down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Nearing Christmas break of my first year at Webster, I got really sick.
Wowzers.
I got really sick. We had just finished a tournament, and that's that 3-day marathon where you're scouting, you're watching,
long 3 days,
you're
man.
coaching, you're staying up late, you're late the night before, doing scouting reports because you're on a 1-day turnaround.
Yeah.
I was exhausted. I was sick. I just didn't feel well, and I was like, okay, I need to slow down.
Yeah.
I need to slow down. Now, of course, we come back from Christmas break, and I go right back to being an idiot and just going. And
As soon as you start feeling better, like, all right, I'm back.
Once you get to basketball season, for me, man, that's my favorite part of the job.
Yep.
And so it's hard to get me to stop working during that time of year. It's really hard to get me to stop working.
Can you think of a time, but before we pivot out of that first year, can you think of a point in time during that season where your team started to get it? And you know what I mean when I say get it. Whatever the things that you've been harping on for months, they're starting to sound like they're paying attention, and then you're starting to see it come together on the floor.
I would say the whole probably last 4 to 5 weeks that I was of that first year. We had 3 seniors, and I really thought that I had started to realize the struggles of being a first-year coach.
Yeah.
I had in my idea the kind of player I thought this kid should be.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really the kind of player he was. And so I had to stop coaching around the player I thought he should be, start coaching around the player he was. And I thought that last 4 to 5 weeks of that year, we really did hit a stride. Now, our schedule was brutal. So we weren't winning a lot of games,
right.
but I thought we were being a lot more competitive. So we had gone, we had played the 3rd place game at Skytook. We played Chakota. And it was halftime of that game. We were down like 8 or 9 points. And starting the second half of that game, I mean, it just kind of took off. And we played really well that game. We won that 3rd place game over there.
Coming back from behind.
Yes. And I mean, I felt on top of the world after that game, man. I really did. I felt like, man, like it really is coming together. And then we went into playing Hale, who was pretty solid that year, and we were up like 8 with like 2.5 minutes to go in the half. And I'm like, all right, we're good. And I look at the clock. I'm like, man, you should really call a timeout. And then I was like, nah, I ain't calling that timeout.
Yeah.
We're playing good right now. Because I didn't feel like I would know what to say. True. They needed us to settle them down. Because in that 2.5 minutes, we went into halftime down 5 points.
Wowzers.
Yeah, and it avalanched quick.
Straight snowball effect.
And, well, so then you learn, your next game we play Rogers at home. Rogers had smoked us early in the year. I mean, 30'd us.
And then, hold on, and this is this 2020, 2021 or 21, 22?
21-22.
Yeah, they were tough.
Yeah. And they had just given it to us. So we play them at home, and I'm comfortable. They kind of know my scouting report, and we say, hey, we ain't leaving the paint. They're going to have to shoot from out there. We ain't letting them dudes beat us in the paint.
Straight up, they got to beat us from deep.
They got to shoot it from out there.
Right.
Well, we're up 8 or 9 early, and with 2 minutes left in the first half, we're up 5 or 6. You know what I did that time. Let's get that TO.
Let's get that TO.
Let's go ahead and get that timeout.
Let me reset you guys.
And so we went into halftime up that game. We still ended up losing. We ended up losing that game, but again, that was a 5A, top 10, top 12 team that we had I thought, went toe-to-toe with. And it just, like I said, the rest of the year we had come over to you guys' place and played, and I thought played a lot better than we had played the first time over there at Central. And so then come playoff time, Inola was a ranked team, and I think we lost to them by 4 or 5 in our district game.
Are you within reach now?
Now we come back through that loser side. We play Dewey, and we wax Dewey, and I'm really feeling that's that first playoff win.
Yeah.
I'm really feeling good. Then we go play Catoosa, who's got 17 wins, and then we beat them. And so, like I said, it had really started coming together, and I felt like if I had more than 0 years of head coaching experience coming in this year, we maybe could have been playing at this level. The whole season. But, you take that knowledge, you live it and you learn.
Yeah, and what's underestimated or maybe even undermentioned is learning to win. That is such a process.
Yes.
When you got a group of unproven, undeveloped, a group just hadn't done it before. Talent or no talent, but learning how to win is tough. You're gonna take some L's, dog.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And you may even lose some of your cargo along the way.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's all worth it in the end, man. So then you roll into season 2, which is the one that just wrapped up, right? 22, 23. What's different about you and what's different about your staff? What's different about the entire operation over at Webster at this point?
I say the main thing that was different, we had to make some staff changes.
Okay.
Coach Brown wanted to go pursue his playing career. So
Got back healthy.
Yep, he was getting back healthy. He was still teaching, but he was going to pursue that. So we made some staff changes. The biggest difference was we graduated our three leaders, our 3 captains. So it was starting over, but it was starting over with a group of kids that wasn't ready to lead yet.
True.
I had to be the leader. So I had to be the verbal leader. Well, of course, the kids, they don't take it as well. So we were really young. So game 1 last year, we started a freshman, 2 sophomores, and I think 2 juniors. That was we were really young. And our 6th man was a junior. I think we had 1 senior last year, and he had never played organized basketball before.
Wowzers.
So it was a legitimate start from scratch, and so we just focused on fundamentals. I coached it like I would coach and this is no disrespect to any of those guys. I love those guys. We coached it like we would coach a younger level team because that was what they needed at that time. And then towards the end of last year, we also started progressing, and you could see the improvement in the progression.
There you go. Was it around about the same time of year where you started to see the fruits of that labor?
Yes.
We talking January? We talking February?
So we're talking February.
All right.
So
Playoff time.
But what kind of gets tricky about it with us, as you know, is when you're playing last year we played in 3A for the first time. When you're playing in those classifications, it's so different from your regular season schedule. So you don't really know if you're playing better or if, okay, maybe we're just not playing 5A top 10 teams every night.
Yeah.
You know, so you just don't know. You just don't know. But we were very competitive. I thought in all of our playoff games, the 2 that we lost kind of got blown open at the end.
Yeah.
But like we went into the fourth quarter of those games with a chance to win and competitive, which from the whole season, by the time we got to the second quarter, we're usually out of most of those games.
Yeah.
So for us to be playing at that level come playoff time, I did think there was some legitimate improvement. And the biggest difference from there, from the previous year was, but now I got these guys coming back.
Yes, sir.
And having these guys coming back, now I really feel like it was the first time that I felt like I was going to be bringing a returning group back. Because my first year was all young guys. It was all inexperienced guys. My second year was all young, inexperienced guys. Now we got some age and some experience coming next year.
Be around.
Yeah, yes.
And, that gives you a little bit of optimism after you get over that initial pain of the run being over.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you one thing about the run ending, especially when you don't win it, because there's only one team that can win it every year, right? Man, it doesn't matter if we've been going at this for 4 months or if we've been going at it for 11 months. The ending, especially if it's a loss, it feels so abrupt.
Yes.
And it's like, dang, we really don't have practice tomorrow.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But,
So if you're doing your job, you look at. So I'll use last year as an example. We're playing a Friday night game. We had just won our Thursday game. We're playing our Friday night game at Beggs against Chandler. We win. We play the winner of Berry Hill and Beggs. So the whole day, I go scout Berry Hill Beggs at 3:00. I come back. We jump on the bus. We leave. I'm preparing. We got our bus request in.
All that.
We ready to go the next day. We're ready to go the next day. And then, like you said, you lose this abrupt. You got to get on the phone. You got to make that phone call. Hey, man, we don't need that bus after all.
Man.
And it just, and they can usually hear it on your voice on the other side. Well, I'm sorry, coach. You know.
Yeah.
And
probably a little more convenient for them, but super inconvenient for us.
Absolutely. So, yeah, like you said, it feels so abrupt because we're doing so much preparation. We don't get the opportunity to prepare and say, well, if we're done, then I could just prepare like we're done. We don't really get that luxury.
Okay, so you've been an assistant for a few different stints, right? So I know that you've been in that dressing room having to listen to the head coach, whoever you're working under, give that final speech when the run is over. But now you're in that seat, you know what I mean? So when the season is over, not only is it the season, but you got some players who are never going to play this game again meaningfully. And so you also know that whatever you have to say when you go in there, they ain't going to want to hear that.
Exactly.
But it's your obligation. We got to go in there. We got to say something soothing, something warm, something of substance. What was it like that first year having to do that, and was it any different that second time around?
Well, we'll
As
touch
a
on
head coach.
we'll touch on the first one and the specifics of it a little bit
Yes.
later on.
Okay.
But the first one was very emotional.
Yeah.
Because we had set that goal. So Webster obviously was coming off of a high of success when I got there. I mean, state tournaments, state semifinals. I mean,
With 7 guys.
Whatever you want, Webster could have given it to you. They played fast. They played slow. They played however you want. I mean, just a special compilation of talent. Just a special compilation of talent. And we knew going into the next year, we ain't gonna be there.
Yeah.
We still thought we could compete, but we had a lot of obstacles to overcome that year. A lot of people don't know this. We lost our either best or second best player probably a week or two before school started. No fault of his own. He wanted to go expand his horizons in a different sport.
Yeah.
Tip our cap. Of course, we'd love for you to stay, but we can't tell you what's best for you.
True.
So that year, we wanted to make the area tournament. And we just knew, we said, hey, man, we make area, and then let's throw that ball up and let's see what happens in the area tournament. And again, my best 3 players were seniors. So it was more emotional that year because it felt like the closing of a chapter.
Yeah.
Now we're moving on to the next era of Webster basketball. That next year, again, we're very young, 1 senior. And so there was emotions and there was sadness for that young man, and he was, his high school basketball journey was over. But then there was also a lot less tears in the locker room that second year, from myself included, because I think there was almost an unspoken understanding that, okay, but
We'll be back here.
yeah. A lot of people is getting their digs in now, and I think if I remember the comment I made correctly, it was like the people that wanted to get us, they better have got us this year.
Right.
And so that was kind of the understanding. So it's, how it is. It's different. Year to year is different. Some groups they don't need to hear, hey man, we're gonna work hard this off season, because most of those guys, there is no more off season. But with that group last year, it was like, okay, let's make sure we're handling our business so that we can be where we need to be next year.
Yeah, we don't have this feeling again.
Exactly. We've all heard that one, right?
Hell yeah.
Hey, y'all remember how you feel right now?
And it's like they all sniffling and all that in the moment, but it's okay. Well, we'll see in about a month or so.
God, we're gonna win it next year.
Are you just running up out of there? 1, 2, 3 team, you out the door?
Exactly.
Or you gonna stick around and do a little extra?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But that's a different part. But okay, so when it comes to jobs, man, this is what adulthood is teaching me. You got to be present, man. Like looking too far in advance, we really, it's cliche, but we really don't know what tomorrow brings. And so I think we can get overwhelmed looking at the big picture of things. Man, we just got to do the day to day. Be where your feet are. So what I'm gearing up to say is, now you're at a whole different location.
Yep.
In March of this year, I'm pretty sure your mind was thinking, I'm gonna be in that blue, baby. You know what I mean?
In March, in April, and the first 2 weeks of May.
Man, okay, so I'm glad you took me there. How did you end up being a Coweta Tiger now?
It is just, like you said, you got to be where your feet are. You got to be very present. It was the weirdest, just most random thing that kind of just came together. A lot of jobs came open last year. A lot of jobs that were very close to my house, very close in proximity, that maybe could potentially be a better basketball situation for me.
Right.
Okay, maybe. And not one time of those jobs did I ever get to urge, nah, I'm not applying for that.
Just weren't moving.
Nah, I'm good. I'm good. And I was also just working really hard with my guys and preparing for summer league. And this and one other job at the time that shall go unnamed opened up around the same time. The other job opened up first, and I thought that was more in line with what I wanted at the time. It lined up with, my career and what I had done up to that point. And so, funny enough, that was the one that I really thought, like, hey, man, this is the one. But for whatever reason, when I found out the Coweta job was open, for whatever reason, that one just kind of stuck in my head. And I kind of thought about it for a couple of days, like, wait a minute. I wonder what that would be like. I don't know a lot about that community. I just wonder. And so, I, out of curiosity, kind of, did some exploring, talked to some coaches, talked to some people out in this area and heard positive things. And so I went ahead and submitted my stuff and came in for an interview. And when I came in for the interview, it was crazy at the feeling I had, because now suddenly this felt like the place that I was being called to be, versus the other job that I thought for sure well, if I don't get that one, okay, I'm gonna be back at Webster, and we're gonna be good to go. But
Right.
I say that to say I wasn't necessarily on the prowl or on the hunt. That
We
they kind of fall right in front of your face, and it's like, okay, it's almost like the baggage claim at the airport. They're just rolling right in front of you. No, that's not my bag. Nah, that's not my bag. That's not my bag. And then you see one, and you're like,
Is that?
I think that's my bag. And so I picked up one that I didn't know for sure was my bag.
Yeah.
Let me look, and kind of looked around, found the tag, and I guess that is my bag.
That's me.
Yeah.
So here's a part of the business that people who aren't in the business may not know of to even think about. The way you leave, right? And so I've worked either for some administrators or close to some where they've got different ideas on how it should go. Like some of them, they hold it against you if they find out that you done shopped a little bit. And in other ones, they're like, hey, man, do what's best for you.
Yeah.
But either way, making this move, it's going to be a tough conversation. So
Oh, yeah.
How was it for you, dog? Seeing as the admin over there at Webster.
It's harder because when you have a personal relationship, it's harder to go in and to say, hey, I think this situation is better for me over here than the one I'm currently in.
Yeah.
Because when you have a positive relationship with somebody, and me and Miss Holman had a really positive relationship, you don't want to go look that person in the face and say, well, I don't think it's your job, because it could be interpreted as, well, am I doing something that's not good enough for you? And the truth is, very rarely is that the case.
Right.
Very rarely is that the case. So,
Not personal.
it was a very, very, very difficult conversation. Even, I'll be honest, I didn't want to have a conversation.
Yeah, man.
I was
you gotta
like,
be a sick person to look forward to having that.
oh man, I was sick, and and you mix it with it being the end of the school year, where there's so many things going on. Had it been in March, maybe there would have been another opportunity for where I could go in really early in the process and say, hey, and just kind of break down everything. But you get to the end of a school year, and she's got a job to do there, and the entire admin, they have a job to do.
Yeah.
And so it was never going to be able to sit there and kumbaya for an hour.
Yeah.
That was never going to be the case, even though that's how I prefer, but that's how I prefer to do everything.
Yeah.
So I had to go in, I had to be short and sweet. I missed some points that I really wanted to say that, in your head, you had a conversation in your head, but it was left very positively. Again, she's been Webster principal. She's been a West Side principal for a really long time. And so for her, I think that she just wants to see young men and women that come through the school system in West Tulsa go on to do great things. And that was what she expressed to me, was that, yes, you are going to be missed. Yes, we are sad to see you go, but we also know that you're going to go do great things, and we're looking forward to watching you do those great things. And so,
Man, when you get that,
oh,
it makes you feel a little bit better about it.
when I walked out the door, I felt like a 50-pound weight vest
Yeah.
had been lifted off of me. I really did. Like I said, again, when you have a positive relationship with somebody, you hate to have a conversation that could potentially spoil the relationship. But, to her credit and to my credit as well, we were able to, I think, look at the bigger picture of it and say, okay, this sucks right now, but, hurt feelings are different than hard feelings.
Ooh, that's a bar right there, man. And
That's not an original. That's not an original.
You ain't got to cite your source right now. We're going to put it on Matt Watson. But you'd be surprised, or maybe you won't, how many people would just slide out of the back door on that and just avoid having that face-to-face because it may be uncomfortable. That's when somebody does like a passive-aggressive text message or an email, which I think is garbage. Because, see, there's a human element that goes into everything.
Yes.
Although this is business, it ain't all business. Because you can get a long way in this business with allies rather than adversaries.
Well,
So you got to have some relationships, man. It's personal.
This is the way I always look at it. I go into Miss Holman's office if I felt like I needed something for the program. If I felt like I needed her assistance for something, I would go into her office. When I took her my pamphlets and packets for my interview and interviewed, I went and handed it right to her face. I just think the moral fiber would not all the way be there if I could go do that and look her in her face when I'm asking for something or when I'm in pursuit of something, but then not do that when it's time for me to maybe bring some news that's maybe not the most pleasant.
Gotcha. Very well done. So, now you're here at Coweta. As we sit right here, it's the day before the first day of school.
Yeah.
Do you feel okay rolling into the school year? And when I say okay, I mean, do you have your ducks in a row? You got your staff already in place. You know what your classroom assignment is going to be, or as far as your day job goes. Are you all the way settled? You got both feet on the ground, ready to do it?
Got staff ready to go.
Okay.
Obviously, you're acclimating to a whole new school building, a whole new school district for the first time. I worked in TPS for like 10, 11 years. So this is, it's completely different. But the people out here, they've been really warm, really welcoming. And I think they're excited to have me, which then in turn makes, you excited to be here and feel like maybe you'll get some grace on your learning curve. If, and they'll help you learn. And I think that's the most important part, going into someplace new, are the people that are willing to help you learn.
And okay, now let's backtrack. You got this job pretty much at the top of the summer.
Yes.
So that was right in time for your summer league action and for your team camp action. What did this summer of 2023 look like for Coweta High School boys basketball under the direction of Matt Watson? What y'all do this summer?
It was a successful summer. Again, we rolled into ORU camp. We were able to pick up a couple games in some summer leagues at Bishop Kelly and Memorial. Then we went to we took 2 JV groups up to NSU. And then we took our varsity group to ORU and then as well to UCO.
Oh yeah, y'all pretty busy, man.
Yeah,
you made it seem like all we did was
we got some games. We got some games in. We kind of got started late. School board approval I don't think went through until the middle of the month, so I couldn't do anything then. But then once we got the green light, it was the word go. It was the word go for me, and you know how I am. We hit the ground running, and we, other than that one OSSAA sanctioned break that we have to take.
Period.
That's right. We ain't get too many of those. We ain't get too many other of those this summer. Having missed the spring with the guys and things like that.
Yeah.
We came in, but it was a successful summer. I thought the boys played really well. I thought we beat some really good quality competition. I thought we lost to some teams that I don't think we maybe should have lost to, but having done this before, I know that's part of the takeover. That's part of this summer. We have not got all the way integrated, and we have not meshed as well as we will have meshed by the time December and January comes.
I can hear the polish in your words now. But you see, six years as an assistant, 2 years as a head coach, but 2 gigs as head coach now.
Yes.
In a short amount of time. So that experience is coming. Would you say that you're working smarter these days versus harder?
Absolutely, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I'm not grinding myself into the ground.
Gotcha.
When I first started at Webster, I remember being literally just physically exhausted that first summer because I felt like I had to do everything. I wanted to make sure my staff was done. I wanted to make sure everything was ordered and everything. I wanted to prove to my administration over there that they had made the right choice. I wasn't really putting myself first. And then that summer was also kind of interesting. My sister is in the Marines, and she was moving from North Carolina to Yuma, Arizona. And so she needed a loving brother to help drive her U-Haul across the country. And so I got to spend my dead period doing that that first year. And so that kind of played into me not getting quite as much of a break as I would have wanted. But
man, just a break from basketball, that's it.
That's all it was.
Not a break.
That's all it was. And guess what? I'm in the car. I'm driving through the deserts of Arizona, and so you know what I'm thinking about.
Off the record on that one. Hey, but who you got working with you, man? Your staff members?
So far, I have Keith Bryant. He's a Coweta alum. He's played here. There's a picture of him on that wall over there.
There you go.
And then we have a young man by the name of Hayden Kennan, who's going to get his start in high school coaching world with us this year. He's again another Coweta alum, graduated in I believe 2017. Played for Coach Norris, who's at Edmond North now. And so right now we keeping it small, we keeping it concise, but we like where we're at. And then we have a couple junior high coaches in place, Coach Childress and Coach Chilcote, and they've been running the 7th and 8th grade program out here since at least Coach Kennan was a player. So for quite some time, so they got a system in place, and I'd be a fool to come in and mess with it.
Come on now, and I'm hearing Coweta guys, which in my mind will make it even easier for you to be ingratiated into the community. Helping that transition to be seamless. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. It's been really good. They've helped me, be
Y'all had a camp too, right?
Huh?
Did y'all have a camp this year?
We've had middle school camp. We've had a shooting camp. We had a elementary kids camp, and then a little Tigers camp.
Wow, 4 of them.
Yeah, man.
It's been a busy summer for you, man.
Oh yeah.
Busy summer for you. Which transitions me into my next question as we wind down toward the end. We work hard, man. We really do, and it's kind of hard for us to allow our mind to go someplace else. So, whenever you're not in the gym and when you're not on the clock, what are some of your hobbies, man? How do you decompress and just be a person?
Well, I'll be honest. I've kind of taken up to cooking this summer.
Really?
I've kind of enjoyed. I've learned how to fry some chicken wingettes. So I shouldn't have taught myself that one, but I really like to grill.
Okay.
And I love to just sit outside and listen to music. Sit outside and watch TV, man. And I enjoy it, man. I like to keep to myself. I'm not one for big parties. I love, small social gatherings. If I got 1 or 2 friends want to come over, we can hang out, watch some TV, play some board games, do whatever.
Right.
That's cool. But outside of that, man, I'll be honest. I need some more non-basketball hobbies, but I don't have a lot of them.
I got you. But I think if you're any kind of good at what you do, you got to sort of be crazy about it.
Yes.
So it doesn't shock me for you to say that I need some more hobbies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, so how hard are you on yourself after a loss? The night of, or maybe even the morning after, if it lingers that long. You know what I mean? I know we be kind of hard on ourselves, dog.
Ridiculously so. Ridiculously so. To the point that I've had to have assistant coaches. We had a PE teacher at Webster a couple years ago after we had lost a first playoff game. And I'm beating myself up. Man, we shouldn't have been in that defense. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
And blah, 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 blah. And she's like, I saw a whole bunch of missed layups from the stands. That's what I saw. Did you coach them to do that? And I said, well, but I could have put us in better position. And, I'm a perfectionist in everything I do. Anybody that's ever worked with me, worked above me, they know I'm a perfectionist. I want everything to be lined up perfectly. And so anytime, if I feel like I made one mistake, that mistake probably cost us the game in my mind. Even though that's not always necessarily the case.
Man, me and you were having a podcast discussion about some of the podcasts that we like to watch before we got started. And on my ride over here, I'm listening to Gilbert Arenas talk, right, on Gil's Arena. And he said something, I never thought about it this way, but I thought it was golden. He was like, dude, your practices should be harder than the games. He said, 'cause if your practices are easy, the games are going to be hard. And I'm waiting for him to go further and expound. And he said, practice should be perfect because you can stop it.
Yes.
And restart it to get it perfectly done, even if it hurts and it's boring. In the game, you can't stop it. It's going too fast. You know what I'm saying? I said, well, damn, you're right about that. You're right about that. So I guess that old cliche, practice makes perfect. Close to it anyway.
That's definitely something I believe in. We practice hard. I push tough practices and things like that. And so that's definitely something I'm big on. I agree with Gil on that one.
There you go. Shout out. All right, last segment. All due disrespect, like we talked about before we hit the play button, hit the record. But so in your playing days and in your coaching days thus far, who beat you that wasn't supposed to beat you? And you go back and
one of each.
One of each, if you can think that far. You got a pretty good memory, man.
I got a good, don't much leave. As a player, my last game of my high school career, we played Okmulgee at Okmulgee, and it was loser's bracket game. We had both lost our first game. I didn't think it was any chance we was going to lose this game.
Right.
I thought we were the better team. I got kind of a tough pill to swallow before that game and got told, hey, we got to move you we got to get some punch off this bench. Our bench scoring wasn't very good.
Got you.
I got to get some bench scoring.
Right.
So I was a little bit mad. It did, but once the game started, I didn't care. I made a couple threes that we were up, I think, 12 at halftime. I didn't think there was any way we were going to lose, and we score like 4 points in the third quarter. And they get up like 14 on us, and so with like 3 minutes left, coach is like, hey, man, let's just go all seniors. You guys, we cut it down. We start pressing, and we cut it down, and we got a chance to tie the game at the buzzer. And we missed a buzzer shot to tie it.
Was it a good look, though?
Oh, it was a great look. It was a great look. My boy Smoke, man. Smoke.
Smoke.
Hey.
Come on, man. That sucker won't miss now.
Oh, he sure won't. And that, that shot motivated Smoke. And Smoke's senior year, Webster actually went to state, and I think that him missing that shot because he's kind of like me in his approach. He felt like that was a mistake. We all felt like, hey, man, it was just a miss. But he took it personally. He felt like he had let the seniors down, even though that wasn't really the case.
Right.
But he, I don't remember missing too many other left-wing threes after that.
Listen, man, when it comes to the old man run, we always end up on the same team. We like Smoke carriers, man.
Great teammate to have. He gonna pass it to you.
Yeah. Now we pass it.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
Yeah.
That's how we do now.
As a coach, man, my first year at Webster, I told you we had beat Catoosa, who had won like 17 games that year. They were really good. It was quite the upset.
Right.
Going into the next game, we planned to go to Area versus Pryor. Now, Pryor was like us. They 5 or 6 wins in the regular season, but had played a 5A schedule. They were like us. I'd watched them. I didn't think there was any, I thought we would have had to really lay an egg to lose that game. I really thought we'd have had to really lay an egg to lose that game, which is, of course, possible. We had a young team. It ain't like we were lighting the world on fire that year. and we go up. I'd say probably 9 to 10 points at halftime. And so I mean, I'll be honest. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. I'm relaxed at halftime,
Yeah.
and
Your game plan is successful.
the game plan's going great. Now
Feeling
I'm
like a
thinking,
pretty good coach,
I'm
ain't
thinking
you?
I'm about to hit him with this adjustment right here, and now we really gonna blow the doors open. And our best player, Trey Davis, he's at Western Oklahoma now, and he averaged I think 24 that year, and he picks up his third and fourth foul within the first minute of that third quarter, and it
What is
was
it about the third quarters, man?
it was blouses. It was good night, and it was good night because I was off at that point. I was off my game. My whole game plan kind of got scrambled around, and again, and it was just, I mean, it was a shattering loss. It was a shattering loss because we had set that goal. It's the equivalent of setting the goal to win the state championship, being up 10 in the state championship game at halftime, and then losing. Like I said, for us, that was our championship, making the area tournament that year. We knew that was going to mean that we had came a hell of a long ways had we done that.
Better than what most expected.
Exactly, and we were there, and selfishly, I wanted that validation for myself. Like, yeah, man, y'all thought we was gonna be terrible. Like, yeah. You know, and like I said, I mean, in that fourth quarter of that game, we just completely wet the bed, and it just was like, man. And that's the one where Pryor's playing 2 days later. They've advanced to area. Hey, you seeing that score on score, and you like, should have been us playing. Hey, I'm sitting at dinner like, man, I shouldn't be at dinner right now. You know, everything you do for that next week, you mad you're doing it because you're like, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be eating dinner right now. I should be getting ready for a game.
I should not have this downtime.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, that's, as a player, as a coach, those are my two. They both season-ending losses.
Man.
You know.
Well, you know, my favorite part about that question is that, you know, I think all of us can be sort of cynical. We can be harder on ourselves. You know what I mean? You've prospered in more ways than one.
Yeah.
And had way more good moments than the bad ones. But it's something about those bad ones. They just stay up front. You know what I mean?
I don't
The
hardly
good
ever
times be
remember.
back here.
I don't hardly ever remember the good wins.
Yeah.
Hey, the losses, the bad losses. Oh, those will live with you forever.
Come on,
Those will live with you forever.
That's right. Well, listen, brother, it's been hell trying to track each other down and get our schedules to align, but I'm glad we finally we're able to catch up and do this, man. I don't want to sit here and be like, I'm proud of you, as if I got something to do with your journey, but I've been knowing you for some years and seeing you pounding the pavement, you know, waiting on your opportunity. You got it, kick the door down, and here you are on opportunity number 2. So low key, you becoming a veteran at this thing right here, man. So are we in the same district? You know what I mean?
Yes, we are in the same
being
district.
Edison
Yeah.
now? Well, listen, man.
Yeah, we're gonna see the Eagles. We'll see the Eagles a couple times.
Right.
Not Philadelphia.
Yeah, we got to see the Tigers a couple times. So best of luck to you, bro, except for when we lock horns. But I'm always going to be rooting for you and watching from a distance. So.
Man, I appreciate you, man. It's been great to be on.
Yes, sir.